Hello there and welcome to another ITH video, and welcome to Great Britain in November. So it is very grey, it is very wet, and it's about 3 degrees, so I'm absolutely freezing. But I have got this, the Honda Civic Type-R, and what basically is about 3 miles of very twisty, very grippy, completely deserted road behind me. So I'm going to go and drive it and have a huge amount of fun. Okay, well, same car, different day. The weather was far too grim yesterday, and I just had to give up filming altogether. It was absolutely horrific. But luckily today, it is a beautifully sunny, gorgeous autumn day. Now, probably the biggest thing that divides opinion on this new Civic Type-R has to be the styling. Spoiler alert, some people don't like it. See what I did there? Anyway, yeah, so you look at the styling of this thing, and it's fair to say it's fairly aggressive. There are quite a few spoilers, wings, aero bits all over it. But, and here's the big thing about it, it's all there for a purpose. This is proper aerodynamically styled parts. This is basically the British touring car, but on the road. So it's got wide arches at the front, it's got all of these spoilers here, which do actually have downforce. The Honda Civic Type-R drives exactly the way that it looks. If I put this into comfort mode, the suspension gets a little bit softer, the steering gets a little bit lighter, the throttle isn't quite as responsive, and you know what? This thing is perfectly comfortable to drive. And it is actually a very practical, normal 5-door hatchback. So yeah, when you put this thing into sport mode, it really does come more alive than it does in comfort. It drives like you've got an entire wasp's nest, and you put it in a bag, and then you bang it against a wall a couple of times, and it's one of those wasps inside. That's what this thing is like to drive. So you put your foot down, and my God, this thing really flies. You can feel the turbo kick in. But I've also not driven something that is so grippy before. For a front-wheel drive car, this thing grips in an absolutely incredible way. The handling is fantastic. You tip this thing into a corner just before you hit the apex. So a little bit earlier than you expect, you put your foot down, okay? That gives it half a second for the boost to build, and then the boost kicks in, and the diff works, and it literally grabs the car and throws it around the corner. Absolutely staggering how fast this thing is. Now, the interior. This is an absolute masterpiece, because you've just got what is essentially a normal Civic interior, which is already a little bit funkier than some of the other ones, but you've got these little red splashes, you've got bits of carbon fibre trim. I'm not even sure if it's real. It looks real enough, same as the stuff on the back of the seats. This thing has got the most gorgeous red racing seats I've ever seen, and they are incredibly comfy and incredibly grippy. And at the end of the day, this is where you spend all your time, and this is what you look at and interact with. And this has got these beautiful seats, it's got this lovely steering wheel with red leather trim on it. The most important thing, it's got this titanium gear knob, which is such a lovely tactile thing to use. The fact is, when you're throwing this thing down a country lane in anger, as I do quite often since I've had it, you need your hands on the wheel a lot of the time, because it's scrabbly and there's some torque steer, but it's brilliant and aggressive, okay? So when you're snicking through this amazing gear change, and I have to say this is one of the best gear changes I've used on a hot hatch, or indeed of any car, you want to be able to just go straight from the steering wheel, change gear, bam, and you've got 9 inches, your hand barely moves between the two. That is brilliant. you'd be forgiven for thinking, the way I've been rabbiting on about this car, that it's the absolute best thing since sliced bread and is the best hot hatch in the entire world. Not quite. Okay, there are a couple of little niggles that I have to address first, but they're meh. Firstly, the infotainment system, it's okay, it works, doesn't look great though, and I don't like not having a dial for the volume just somewhere in the car. Personal preference though. Anyway, there are two main things that will affect people driving this car, I'd say. The first one that's really, it has got the worst turning circle, I think, of any car I've driven in a long time. Now that is a consequence of having 20-inch alloys, which look great, on a Civic, which is designed to normally have 17 or 18-inch alloys at the most. But this thing, when you try and do a 3-point turn, or you try and turn around in a road, honestly, oh hang on, sorry, but honestly, when you try and turn this thing, like I'm coming up to a very tight left-hander now to complete this loop, and it's a little bit like steering the Titanic. I can't make it around this bend if there's a car on the other side. You see, I'm having to stop, wait for that guy, and then I can go around. It is incredibly wide turning circle. Now the final point, and this is a biggie, and for a lot of people, potentially a deal breaker, it's the sound. I will say, inside the car, this thing sounds a lot better. I don't know if there's any of that exhaust augmentation thing through the speakers. I don't think there is. I think there's some clever piping coming from the intake, because inside it sounds okay, but from the outside, and even when you're hoofing it, to be honest, you hear engine and intake, you don't hear exhaust. Now on the back of this thing, it's got 3 pipes. You know, there's 2 and then there's 1 for the back pressure or something. It looks like it should sound fantastic. It's just far, far, far too quiet for me. Because if there's one thing that the i30N Performance has taught me specifically, it's that having that incredibly fun, fruity exhaust note, it just makes the whole experience better. Now, as well as your comfort and sport mode, there is also the plus R, or R plus, as some people call it, button. You put it into there, and if you're on track, brilliant. It tightens everything up even more, and it makes the suspension stiffer and everything. And on track, brilliant. I've driven this thing around Rockingham, and it was amazing in R mode. On road, no. If you like your spine, just leave it in sport, because yeah, R mode is way, way too stiff. Okay, so that was the Civic Type-R. Would I buy one? I don't know. I think I'd still get the Hyundai i30N. For me, it looks a little bit more subtle. I'm a little bit older. I'm not quite, you know, this kind of styling type person, I don't think. And the i30N sounds amazing. But I do love this car. It is brilliant. And if you like the styling, which I know some don't, but if you love the styling and you love the way this thing drives, get one and get an aftermarket exhaust, and you will have an absolutely outstanding hot hatch. So thank you for watching, and go and subscribe if you fancy it, and tick the little notifications bell, because we've got loads and loads of videos. We've got podcasts, we have got car reviews, we've got lifestyle stuff all over the In the Headlights YouTube channel, and there's plenty and plenty more to come as well. So keep your eyes peeled, and thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.